Back at it here on a Wednesday, Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Representative Ken Pendergraft joins us. Representative Pendergraft, what's your district? I don't have it in my notes.
I represent District 29, which is basically the majority of downtown Sheridan.
HD 29, downtown Sheridan. We love Sheridan.
That's right.
Downtown Sheridan is famous for retaining...
It is.
It's got its own Western, old school Western flair, but it's a vibrant today modern business. That is Main Street USA, like the model that all towns should aspire to.
I wish they would, because more people would go other places, and then I could get into where I want to get in. So many people. No, we love Sheridan. I grew up here, and this is a great place to be.
Yeah, well,
the family actually came to this area about 1878, so we've been around for a little while.
Holy cow! Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're glad to be home. That was a heck of a session. 2021, 3 weeks of budget session. What is your initial takeaway overall? You happy with where we got with the budget?
Well, wait a minute. You're on appropriations. There's no 3 weeks. It was more like 3 months.
Good point. Appropriations.
And, we were down there. We were down there in Cheyenne. Had 2 weeks of hearings each month before that.
Yep.
I came down early for several meetings. It basically took up all of my time for a period of about 3 months. But fair enough. There are 22 days of actually being on the House floor.
Yeah.
It was in some ways brutal. In some ways, it was very rewarding. We'd been told for a long time, well, you guys can't govern. Well, we got our two big goals were to get a budget passed. And in order to do that, we had to have at least 16 affirmative votes in the Senate. Well, there's a challenge right there.
Yeah.
From where we stood. So we wanted to come into it with the best position that we could have, a little bit of bargaining space. And I think we did a good job at that. We passed the first budget, and I don't know how long, that actually came in underneath the governor's rec. That alone was an accomplishment to be able to get a budget passed and do that. We got recalibration done, first time in 15 years. That's not been done. And we overcame a lot of mindless distraction, I think is how I would call it, and still got the job done. Every single bill that came out of the Senate made it to the House floor, and we went through them. We had to stay up late at night a few times. 20 some hours or more debating amendments to the budget. We weathered all of that. I'm pretty proud of what we were able to accomplish, as few of us as there actually are.
I mean, we have talked with, at this point, many House members, and many of them say, we just had Representative Haroldson on earlier today. Many said, if anything, a budget session was noticed by a lot of people, including the media. Your email inbox was probably full. We really paid attention to this budget session and counted every dime.
And I'm glad that you did, because the truth eventually wins out. And, there are a lot of narratives out there about what happened, that the House rolled over to the Senate. And I think you've had other guests on that would dispel that myth. And I certainly could as well. I would like to have seen us get a little bit more, but we did something that hasn't been done in a long time.
Out of appropriations, Representative Pendergraft, we saw what was looking to be very drastic cuts. They were certainly eye-opening. You got our attention in appropriations.
Wait. Drastic.
When you talk about a business council and taking them from whatever they're proposed, 11 million to zero.
Okay, I'll grant you that one. And the point was to get their attention. And I think we did that.
Yes.
And now we have the opportunity through the interim to go back and look at that. If we had approached that with, say, we're going to challenge you by taking a few million away, we wouldn't have accomplished what we did. So there's an Overton window thing in there. So I'll give you that one. And you're probably also going to mention UW. That's actually only about 4% of their budget that we propose to take away. And I would venture to guess that almost everybody that's listened to this lost more than 4% of their household income due to inflation and due to property tax raises over the last few years. So don't tell me that was drastic. The rest of the quote unquote cuts were actually slowing down the rate of growth. And we ended up doing that just a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. I was just saying, well, whether we call them drastic or not, they were attention getting out of appropriations.
Wait now. Words mean things. And if you use the word drastic for a 4% cut, what are you going to use when we come in and say we need 10, 12, 15% because the bottom has dropped out of whatever industry? So save the words for when they're appropriate, because this hyperbole does nobody any favors.
Well, I just don't remember a budget session where the legislature was going to tell University of Wyoming, you're not getting $40 million.
You've never had a session before with serious conservatives in there. That's the difference.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted by text.
It happens.
Yes. Well,
if that happened to me on the House floor, it'd be on the front page of every newspaper that some Washington, D.C. overlord is telling him how to vote.
Yeah, we did see a lot of that.
Apparently, you have an overlord there telling you what questions to ask. So I just want to keep that clear.
That we did see a lot of that nonsense. We don't even have to go to Checkgate. Yes, there was the idea that the Freedom Caucus, the House majority, gets marching orders from back east or outside the state. Yeah, that comes up a lot.
I think Lloyd Larson put it best when he used the phrase horse trap.
Yeah. All right. That works. Let's talk about that business council again. Whether that is a necessary thing. Do we have to do economic development? Do we need a business council, or do we need them to operate better?
Yeah, I think more so the latter.
Yeah.
I'm as much of a critic, obviously, of the council and of that concept as anybody. But I'm a realist. I'm a pragmatist. And I know that I'm not going to win the argument of having government stay entirely out of it. But when you look back over the 30 years or so of the Business Council, it was not successful. And even people who fought against us said, yeah, they might need some change, but they don't need to just go away. And I would step back and just say, yeah, we posed that Overton window, if you will, and said, no, we need to really look at this. And we're going to be doing that. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that. I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, because this was kind of just a 1 year reprieve. There's going to have to be a report card from Business Council. You're going to take another look under the hood in a year. Supplemental budget. That's going to be first and foremost next session for sure.
If we did a good job on the general budget, which I think we did, the supplemental budget really won't amount to much. Yeah. Which is the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to have a general session to come in and discuss the issues, and we're supposed to have a budget session to build the budget.
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. And that's enough. I mean, a budget session is a lot of work, and then you add on to it the recalibration, which, you got that across the finish line. Pretty happy with funding in education?
Well, we did something that has upset a lot of folks, and we call it the silo.
Yeah.
But we had for years been fighting for a silo because we as the legislature would put money and say, we want this money to go to the classroom. We want it to go to the teachers. And it would get dissipated, however, through the block grant. And so you might remember a year or two ago, we intended to give every teacher an 8.5% raise. And only one school district in the state actually did that. The rest of them, the money went elsewhere. And we were bound to determine that was not going to happen again, especially when we're getting sued for the idea that we don't adequately fund education. Well, we spend $20,000 a month per student. That is way more than almost any other state.
Yeah.
We spend enough, the money's not going to the right place. So we had to say, put our foot down. I don't like the heavy-handedness of that. But eventually you got to put your foot down and say, no, we gave you the money. This is where it's going to go.
Representative Ken Pendergraft is with us, District 29. Representative Pendergraft, what about the idea that government? I personally like the idea that I don't want a big government. I want government as small as we can make it, and right-sizing government and doging where necessary, cutting bloat, finding out places where we just don't need to be. Government doesn't need to be and doesn't need to be spending. You're pretty satisfied we're as running as slim as we can?
No. There are so many areas where we have overstepped our bounds. We have accepted federal monies, and then federal monies start to go away. And rather than say, well, the program's gone, we're expected to pick it up. And one good example is public television, public radio.
Yeah.
Government has no business in that industry. That's your industry. That's my industry, actually. I don't know whether you know it or not, but I produce another show, and we do the same thing you do every weekday morning.
That and similarly, I know the governor was disappointed in the Sunbucks, and some of that would be federal money. So is that the thinking as well?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Federal money's not free money, by the way, I think is what Representative Pendergraft would say.
It causes inflation, but there's also some question about what that money was for.
Yeah.
If you look into that request was for administration to build another office and to pay more people. It was not for food. It was not to have money go out to kids. And we just said, we don't need any more administration. It's already the money that goes to kids out of that by percentage is a lot smaller than most other organizations. And I could back that up as well. But that's what we were saying is we don't need more administration. There are some fundamental core beliefs about the role of government. It is not government's role to feed your children. And that immediately inflames people and say, oh, well, you must hate children, whatever. No, I don't want kids to start to depend on government that is fickle, that will turn around and all of a sudden say, we can't afford it, we won't do it, for their food.
Yeah.
Nobody should be dependent upon the government for food.
Representative.
Some are.
Yeah. Proper role of government, and the fact that Sunbucks had a lot of overhead expenditures in it.
Yeah. I also want to say this. Yes, there's a place for welfare. There's a place for helping somebody out of a hole. I've been there myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not unsympathetic to what goes on there. But you and I both would have to admit, if you're fair, that a lot of these things get exploited and used, and we begin to teach people that you can't fail. And you take away somebody's right to fail, you take away their right to succeed. It's true.
Representative Pendergraft, what about a non-budget related thing? We did get the budget in under $10 billion, a shade under. What about non-budget things specifically? I want to talk about that Second Amendment Protection Act. Where were you with that? Necessary?
Yes. I know of a couple of instances. One of them, frankly, involves myself. When law authorities came and basically overrode their constitutional limits. Now, you probably heard on the House floor, and I've said it other places, as long as the Constitution says shall not be infringed, and the state constitution says the right to defend yourself in the state shall not be denied, that's pretty straightforward. And the fact is that we live in a dangerous world. And if I came to you and I offered to strike you with my hand and you threw your hand up and knocked my hand away, that is self-defense. That is force against force. Or if you ran away, same thing, self-defense. And nobody has ever going to deny you the right to do that. If I come at you with a stick and you pick up a stick and you counter my thrust with a stick, nobody's going to say that's too much force. Well, what if you're an 80-pound, 85, 90, 100-pound woman and your former guest comes on?
Yeah.
Does that person not have the right, the God-given right, not to be infringed on by any government, to defend themselves? Period.
Good point. Representative.
Of course it is. I made it.
Representative Harold Pendergraft on the show. Back in Sheridan. Next time I'm in Sheridan, I'm gonna have to look you up. Thanks for all the hard work in the budget session. I will.
Thank you. We'll go do a little shooting.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.